The emergency session of the Galactic Council had been called within hours of receiving Scout Commander Nexus Kale's report. Representatives from 47 civilizations gathered in the Great Chamber, their voices creating a noise that sounded like 1,000 different storms happening at once. Chancellor Mektar struggled to maintain order as species after species demanded to be heard. The Altarian Federation was shouting about humans on their sacred moon. The Kralek Syndicate was demanding action about human mining operations in their territory. The Cetacean Alliance was making angry sounds about humans on their ocean world. Order! Order! Mektar called out, his tentacles waving frantically. We will address each concern systematically. Admiral Crix Valdarin stood at his position, his 6 eyes focused on the floor. Just 3 weeks ago, he had confidently told this same council that humans were harmless primitives. Now he was facing the greatest intelligence failure in galactic history. Admiral, Chancellor Mektar's voice cut through the noise. You assured us that humanity posed no threat. Explain how this happened. Valdarin looked up slowly. Honorable Chancellor, the humans have been far more clever than we realize. They have been monitoring our communications for over a century while pretending to be primitive. They used our own laws against us, settling on worlds we had claimed, but never inhabited. The chamber erupted in angry voices again. Representative Zixtal the Mistari floated forward, her energy form glowing bright red with fury. The humans have built a city on Eldara's sacred moon, she transmitted. They have mining operations extracting holy crystals from our most sacred site. How many humans are on the moon? Asked Mektar. Our scouts report approximately 2 million inhabitants. They have built underground cities connected by transport tunnels. They even have orbital elevators connecting the moon to nearby asteroids. Representative Gornak of the Kralek Syndicate slammed his massive fist on his speaking platform. The asteroid belt of Vortex Prime contains the richest mineral deposits in our sector. We have been planning to develop those resources for 50 years. Now we find humans have been mining there for 30 years. What is the extent of their operations? Mektar asked. They have hollowed out 12 major asteroids and built them into space habitats. Each habitat houses between 500,000 and 1 million humans. They have processing facilities, manufacturing plants, and even recreational areas. They are not just mining, they are living there permanently. The reports continued for hours. The Aquarian Collective had discovered human underwater cities on their planned expansion world. The Draconian Empire found human settlements on 3 different planets in their territory. The Silicon-based collective detected human colonies on worlds with environments that should have been impossible for biological life to survive. Captain Ben Williams of the human survey ship Deep Explorer had been monitoring galactic communications from his position near the edge of the galaxy. His ship was one of 12 vessels that Earth Command had stationed throughout space to gather intelligence on alien civilizations. Earth Command, this is Captain Williams, he transmitted through the quantum communication array. The aliens have figured out what we've been doing. The Galactic Council is in emergency session discussing the human colonies. The response came back immediately from Admiral Susan Taylor at Earth Command. What is their reaction, Captain? Panic. Ma'am, complete panic. They're just now realizing that we've been settling on worlds throughout the galaxy for decades. They thought we were primitives who had never left our home system. Any signs of military mobilization? Not yet, but several species are demanding action. The Zephyrians are particularly upset about New Eden. They were counting on that world to save their civilization. Admiral Taylor processed this information. Quickly, continue monitoring. We need to know if they're planning any aggressive actions against our colonies. On the Mistari homeworld, High Priestess Yelendra was receiving reports from her scouts about the human presence on Eldara's moon. The news was worse than she had imagined. They have not just built cities, reported Scout Leader Nextara. They have been studying our ancient technology. The humans have figured out how to use our crystal matrices to enhance their own equipment. Are they damaging the sacred sites? No, High Priestess. Surprisingly, they appear to be preserving the ancient temples. They have built their cities around the sacred areas, leaving them untouched. Some of their scholars are even working to translate our ancient texts. Yelandra was confused. They are preserving our sacred sites while colonizing our moon? Yes, High Priestess. It appears they researched our culture before settling there. They knew what was important to us and made sure not to damage it. This information troubled Yelandra more than if the humans had simply destroyed everything. It suggested that the humans have been planning their expansion very carefully, taking into account the cultural and religious significance of the sites they were settling near in the Kralek Syndicate's command center. General Vexstar was reviewing detailed reports about the human presence in Vortex Prime. His intelligence officers have been working around the clock to understand the scope of human operations. General, the humans have been mining the asteroids for 30 years, reported Intelligence Officer Kralex. But they have not been strip mining. They have been using sustainable extraction methods that preserve the long-term viability of the mineral deposits. What does that mean? They are taking only what they need while leaving the infrastructure intact for future generations. They are also processing the raw materials into finished goods rather than just extracting and shipping them elsewhere. Vexstar studied the holographic displays showing human asteroid habitats. They are not just mining. They are building permanent settlements. Correct, General. Each habitat is designed to last for centuries. They have schools, hospitals, manufacturing facilities, and even areas for recreation and culture. These are not temporary mining operations, they are permanent colonies. Back at the Galactic Council, Chancellor Mektar was trying to understand the full scope of the situation. How many human colonies are we talking about? Admiral Valderin consulted his datapad. Our current count is 17 confirmed colonies, across 12 different star systems. But given how much we have missed, there could be more. 17 colonies? Mektar's tentacles curled in distress. How is that possible? We have been monitoring space traffic for centuries. The humans have been using routes that we never monitor, Valderin explained. They avoided the main travel corridors that connect our civilizations. Instead, they found paths through empty space that we never bothered to watch. Representative Quindar of the Peaceful Traders Alliance raised a concern that had been bothering many of the council members. If the humans have been monitoring our communications for a century, what else do they know about us? The question hung in the air like a toxic cloud. If humans have been listening to galactic communications for that long, they would know about military capabilities, trade routes, political alliances, and strategic weaknesses of every major civilization. They know everything, Valderin said quietly. They know our military strengths and weaknesses. They know our trade dependencies. They know our political divisions. They have been preparing for this moment for decades. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. The species they had dismissed as primitive had been gathering intelligence on all of them for a century while quietly building an empire throughout the galaxy. What do we do? Asked Representative Korthek of the warrior clans. We need more information, Mektar decided. Send ambassadors to each human colony. We need to understand their intentions and capabilities before we decide on any course of action. As the council session ended, representatives returned to their homeworlds to report the shocking news. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted overnight, and no one knew what would happen next. On Earth, President Amanda Foster was receiving updates from colonies throughout the galaxy. The secret was out, but humanity was ready for whatever came. Next. Ma'am, reported Secretary of Colonial Affairs Robert Chun. All 17 colonies are reporting that alien scouts have arrived to investigate our settlements. The aliens appear to be in a state of shock. Any hostile actions? None so far. They seem to be more confused than angry. Our colony administrators are following protocols and offering to meet with their representatives. President Foster nodded. The next few weeks will determine whether humanity becomes a respected member of galactic civilization or if we face a war with multiple alien species. Either way, we're not backing down. The stage was set for the most important diplomatic negotiations in human history. Scout Commander Nexus Kale stared at his display screen in complete disbelief. The readings had to be wrong. There was no way the sensors could be accurate. He ordered his crew to run the scans again, then a third time, then a fourth. "Commander?" "The readings are consistent," reported his sensor operator. "The planet shows massive artificial structures, orbital installations, and electromagnetic signatures indicating a population in the millions." Nexus felt his throat tighten. New Eden was supposed to be empty. The Zephyrian Empire had spent centuries preparing this world as their backup homeworld, but they had never actually moved there. The planet should have been waiting for them, pristine and uninhabited. "What kind of structures are we detecting?" he asked. "Cities, Commander. Large cities with population centers, industrial districts, transportation networks, and defensive installations. The orbital platforms appear to be armed." Nexus activated the communication system to contact his fleet. "All ships maintain current distance. Do not approach the planet until we understand the situation." Through his view screen, he could see New Eden rotating slowly in the distance. The planet looked exactly as the Zephyrian terraforming teams had left it 300 years ago. The continents were the right shape, the oceans the right color, the atmosphere the right composition. But now there were lights scattered across the night side, indicating massive urban development. "Run a biological scan," he ordered. "I want to know what species has colonized our world." The results came back 20 minutes later. The sensor. Operator's voice was filled with confusion. "Commander, the biological signatures indicate the inhabitants are from the species called humans, the ones the Galactic Council classified as primitives." Nexus felt his blood run cold. Humans were supposed to be barely capable of space travel. They were Class C beings who had never left their home system. Yet somehow they had not only reached New Eden, but had built a thriving civilization there. "How many humans are on the planet?" he asked. "Approximately 12 million, Commander. They appear to have established 4 major cities and numerous smaller settlements. The industrial output suggests they are completely self-sufficient." Nexus made a decision that would change everything. "Prepare a shuttle. I'm going down to investigate personally." Dr. Helen Price was monitoring the approaching alien vessels from her laboratory when she noticed something interesting. The ships had stopped at the edge of the system and were scanning the planet. They weren't acting aggressively, but they were clearly surprised by what they found. "Colony Administration, this is Dr. Price," she said into her communicator. "The alien vessels have stopped their approach and are conducting detailed scans of our world. I believe they are surprised to see us as we are to see them." Lisa Carter's voice came back immediately. "Any idea what they want?" "Based on their behavior, I suspect they have some prior claim to this planet. The way their scanning suggests. They expected to find something different." Lisa felt a chill run down her spine. The colony had always suspected that New Eden was too perfect to be natural. If these aliens had prepared the world for their own use, the situation was far more complicated than anyone had imagined. "Continue monitoring," she ordered. "Let me know immediately if they make any aggressive moves." The next morning, Helen detected a small craft separating from the main fleet. It was heading directly for New Eden's surface. She immediately contacted the colony's defense center. "We have incoming," she reported. "Single small craft, probably carrying a small crew. They're heading for the main continent." Colonel Pete Jackson activated the colony's defense protocols. Hidden weapon systems powered up across the planet. The orbital platforms adjusted their positions to provide coverage of the landing site. Fighter craft prepared for launch from concealed hangars. "Do we intercept?" asked his tactical officer. "No," Jackson decided. "Let them land. We'll be ready for them, but we need to know what they want before we act." The alien shuttle touched, down in a clearing 30 kilometers from New Eden's capital city. Nexus emerged with 2 security officers, all wearing environmental suits. The planet's atmosphere was perfect for Zephyrian physiology, but he didn't want to take any chances. They had walked less than a kilometer when human vehicles surrounded them. The humans had been tracking their approach from the moment they entered. The atmosphere. Dr. Helen Price stepped out of the lead vehicle, flanked by colony security officers. She had volunteered to make first contact, despite the risks. Her team had been preparing for this moment for years. "Welcome to New Eden," she said, using the universal translator device that Earth scientists had developed. "I am Dr. Helen Price, chief scientist of the human colony." Nexus was shocked that the human spoke first. He had expected to encounter primitives who would be terrified by alien contact. Instead, he was facing a confident scientist who acted as if she had been expecting his arrival. "I am Scout Commander Nexus Kale of the Zephyrian Empire," he replied. "This world belongs to my people. We demand to know why you have colonized our property." Helen had expected this response. "We have been monitoring galactic communications for over a century. We know about your empire and your laws. Under galactic law, claiming a world requires actual settlement and development within a reasonable time frame. You prepared this world but never inhabited it." Nexus felt his certainty wavering. The human was right about galactic law, but how could these primitives know about such things? "You have been monitoring our communications? That's impossible. Your species was classified as technologically primitive." "Your classification was incorrect," Helen replied calmly. "We have been aware of galactic civilization for much longer than you realize. We simply chose to remain quiet while we established our own presence among the stars." She gestured toward the horizon, where the towers of New Eden's capital city were visible in the distance. "We have built a thriving civilization here. 12 million humans call this world home. We have families, schools, hospitals, and industries. This is not just a colony. It's a homeland." Nexus activated his communication device to contact his ship. "Command, I need to speak with High Commander Zaradek immediately. The situation here is far more complex than we anticipated." The response came back quickly. "Commander, we have detected human colonies on 16 other worlds throughout the galaxy. They are not just on New Eden. They have established a network of settlements across multiple star systems." Helen noticed the shock on the alien's face. "You're just now discovering our other colonies? We have been expanding for over 50 years. Earth Command has been very thorough in selecting strategic locations." "Strategic locations?" Nexus asked. "Worlds that various alien civilizations had claimed but never settled. We call it cosmic squatting. You claim a world, do the basic preparation work, then leave it empty for centuries. We simply moved in and built actual civilizations." Helen activated her own communicator. "Colony administration, please transmit our legal documentation to the Zephyrian vessel. Show them our settlement claims, development records, and population registrations." The data stream flowed to Nexus's ship, where it was analyzed by the most advanced legal computers in the Zephyrian fleet. The results were devastating for the alien's case. "Commander," came the voice from his ship, "the human claims appear to be legally valid under galactic law. They have established continuous habitation, developed the planet's resources, and created permanent settlements. Their claim to these worlds is stronger than ours." Nexus felt his world crumbling around him. The Zephyrian Empire was facing extinction as their homeworld died. New Eden was supposed to be their salvation, but now it was occupied by the very species they had dismissed as harmless primitives. "Dr. Price," he said slowly, "my people are facing a crisis. Our homeworld is dying, and we need New Eden to survive. As a species, surely we can reach some accommodation." Helen had been expecting this as well. "We are aware of your situation. We have been monitoring your solar system and know about your planet's core instability. We are willing to discuss sharing New Eden, but only as equals, not as primitives. Who should be grateful for your mercy? Sharing? Nexus couldn't believe what he was hearing. You would allow us to settle on our own world? It stopped being your world the moment you abandoned it, Helen replied firmly. It became our world when we built our cities and raised our children here, but we are not unreasonable. New Eden is large enough for both our peoples, if you are willing to accept us as partners rather than subjects. Nexus realized that everything the Galactic Council thought they knew about humanity was wrong. These were not primitive beings who could be easily displaced. They were a sophisticated species that had been playing a game the aliens didn't even know existed. I need to report this to my superiors, he said. Of course. But Commander, you should know that our other colonies are similarly well established and well defended. Whatever decision your empire makes about New Eden will set the precedent for how humanity is treated throughout the galaxy. As Nexus returned to his shuttle, he knew that the galaxy was about to change in ways no one had imagined. The species everyone had dismissed as harmless had quietly become one of the most powerful civilizations in known space, and they had done it right under everyone's noses. 15 years had passed since Captain Jake Morrison first set foot on the world humans now called New Eden. The small research outpost had grown into something no one had expected. Colony Administrator Lisa Carter stood on the observation deck of the Central Command Tower, watching the morning sun rise over a city that housed 3 million people. The skyline stretched for kilometers in every direction. Tall buildings made of local stone and imported steel reached toward the sky. Parks filled with earth trees and native plants created green spaces throughout the urban landscape. Transportation tubes carried people between districts, while cargo ships moved goods from the industrial sectors to the residential areas. The Population Report Administrator, said her assistant, bringing her a data pad with the latest numbers. Lisa reviewed the information with satisfaction. New Eden now had 12 million human residents spread across 4 major cities and dozens of smaller settlements. The colony had achieved complete self-sufficiency in food production, manufacturing, and energy generation. They even exported goods back to Earth through the regular supply ships. Any word from the other colonies? She asked. Colony 7 reports successful harvest of the new grain varieties. Colony 12 has completed construction of their orbital defense platform. Colony 3 is ahead of schedule on their mining operations. Lisa nodded. New Eden was not humanity's only expansion into space. Earth had established 17 colonies across the galaxy, each one carefully chosen for its strategic value and resources. The program had been kept quiet, with only the highest levels of government knowing the full scope of human expansion. In the engineering district, Ryan Blake was solving a problem that had puzzled him for months. The geothermal power plants were producing more energy than the planet should naturally provide. The underground heat sources were too regular, too perfectly placed to be natural formations. Run the deep scan again, he told his team. Focus on the thermal patterns below the main power station. The results appeared on his screen, showing a complex network of artificial channels and heat exchangers buried deep in the planet's crust. Someone had built a sophisticated geothermal system long before humans arrived. This is incredible, said engineer Tony Adams, studying the data. Whoever built this knew exactly what they were doing. The efficiency is better than anything we could design, Ryan frowned. But why build it and then leave? This system could power a civilization 10 times our size. Maybe they're coming back, suggested engineer Maria Santos. The thought made Ryan uncomfortable. He had always suspected that New Eden was too perfect to be natural. The soil composition, the weather patterns, the mineral deposits, everything seemed designed for human habitation. But if someone else had prepared this world, where were they now? At the medical center, Dr. Amy Rodriguez was reviewing the health statistics for the colony. The numbers were remarkable. Human life expectancy on New Eden was 15% higher than on Earth. Disease rates were significantly lower. Even the birth rate was higher than normal. The environmental factors are clearly beneficial, she explained to her research team. The atmospheric composition includes trace gases that seem to boost human immune systems. The gravity is perfect for bone and muscle development. Even the soil contains minerals that improve crop nutrition. It's almost like this planet was designed for us, observed Dr. Carol Lewis. That's what worries me, Amy replied. In 15 years, we've never found any explanation for why this world is so perfectly suited for human life. No planet should be this ideal by accident. She had sent several reports to Earth Command about her concerns, but the response was always the same. The colony was successful, the people were healthy, and there was no immediate threat. Her job was to keep the colonists healthy, not to solve geological mysteries. Meanwhile, in a solar system 50 light years away, the Zephian Empire was facing its greatest crisis in 1,000 years. High Commander Zara Thek received a report from her science advisors with growing alarm. The core instability is accelerating, reported Chief Scientist Vex Kolani. Our homeworld has perhaps 50 years before the planet becomes uninhabitable. Zara studied the data on her screen. The Zephyrian homeworld's core was cooling faster than predicted. The magnetic field was weakening, which would eventually expose the surface to deadly radiation. The temperature was dropping, and the atmosphere was slowly leaking into space. What about the backup world? She asked. New Eden remains our best option. The terraforming work we completed there 3 centuries ago should provide a perfect environment for our people. The geothermal systems will provide unlimited energy. The atmospheric processors will maintain perfect air quality. The soil enhancement will support our agricultural needs. Zara activated the long-range communication system. Send a message to the monitoring station in the Kepler system. I want a full status report on New Eden immediately. The response came back 12 hours later. The monitoring station reported massive electromagnetic activity from the planets. Surface, something was very wrong. Launch a reconnaissance mission, Zara ordered. I want to know what's happening on our backup world. 3 days later, Scout Commander Nexus Kale departed for the Kepler system with a small fleet of ships. His mission was to investigate the unexpected activity on New Eden and prepare for the eventual relocation of the entire Zephyrian population. Back on New Eden, Dr. Helen Price was working in her astronomy laboratory when she detected unusual energy signatures in the outer system. Her deep space sensors had picked up something that didn't belong there. Computer, enhance the signal and identify the source, she commanded. The display showed several objects moving toward the inner system at speeds that indicated advanced propulsion technology. The objects were clearly artificial, but they didn't match any known human spacecraft designs. Helen immediately contacted Colony Administration. Lisa, we have a situation. I'm detecting multiple unknown spacecraft entering the system. Lisa Carter felt her stomach drop. This was the moment they had all been preparing for, even though they had hoped it would never come. The colony had defense systems, but they had never been tested against alien technology. How long until they reach us? Lisa asked. At their current speed, approximately 6 days. Activate the emergency protocols. Contact Earth Command and inform them of the situation. Begin preparations for potential contact with an alien civilization. Throughout the colony, hidden systems came online. The orbital defense platforms that most colonists thought were weather monitoring stations revealed their true purpose. Underground, bunkers that had been built for emergency storage, open to reveal military equipment and supplies. Ryan Blake received new orders that finally explained the mysterious infrastructure he had been maintaining. The geothermal plants weren't just providing power, they were part of a planetary defense network. The energy they produced could be channeled into weapon systems that have been hidden beneath the surface for 15 years. We've been preparing for this day since the colony was founded, explained Colonel Pete Jackson, the colony's secret military commander. Every building, every system, every piece of equipment was designed with defense in mind. Lisa Carter called an emergency meeting of the colony's department heads. For the first time, she revealed the truth about New Eden's purpose. This colony was never just about expansion, she explained. It was part of a larger strategy to establish human presence throughout the galaxy. Earth Command knew that we would eventually encounter alien civilizations, and they wanted us to be ready. Ready for what? Asked Dr. Rodriguez. To prove that humanity is not the primitive species we appear to be. Every colony has been established on worlds that alien civilizations had claimed, but never settled. We've been playing a very long game, and it's about to pay off. As the alien ships approached New Eden, the colonists prepared for first contact. They had spent 15 years building a civilization on a world that belonged to someone else. Now, they would discover whether their strategy had been wise or foolish. The Zephyrian reconnaissance fleet continued its approach, expecting to find their carefully prepared backup world empty and ready for colonization. Instead, they were about to discover that the galaxy's most underestimated species had been quietly building an empire, while everyone else was looking the other way. Admiral Crix Valderin stood before the massive holographic display in the Galactic Council chambers. His 6 eyes scanned the data streams flowing across the blue-tinted screen. The information about the third planet in the solar system made him want to laugh. These creatures called themselves humans, and they were barely worth his attention. Honorable Council members, Valderin began, his voice carrying the authority of someone who had conquered 12 star systems. I present my findings on the species known as humanity. The chamber held representatives from 47 different alien civilizations. Some floated in special atmosphere tanks, others stood on multiple legs, and a few existed as pure energy beings contained in crystalline shells. All of them turned their attention to the Zephyrian Admiral. These humans, Valderin continued, are biological curiosities at best. They have only recently achieved basic space travel. Their longest journey beyond their home planet took them to their moon, a distance that our children travel for school field trips. A few representatives made sounds that might have been laughter in their respective species. Valderin pressed on, enjoying the attention. They fight among themselves constantly over resources that are abundant throughout the galaxy. They have not yet learned to harness the power of their own star effectively. Their technology is primitive by our standards, perhaps equivalent to what we achieved 3,000 years ago. The hologram shifted to show images of human cities, vehicles, and spacecraft. To the assembled aliens, everything looked crude and inefficient. Their spaceships used chemical rockets instead of quantum drives. Their cities sprawled across the land instead of floating in perfect geometric patterns. Their weapons were based on explosive projectiles rather than energy manipulation. Furthermore, Valderin added, they show no signs of detecting our presence, despite our monitoring stations throughout their solar system. They are completely unaware that galactic civilization exists. Chancellor Mektar of the Galactic Council raised one of his tentacles. What is your recommendation, Admiral? I recommend we classify humanity as a Class C species. They require minimal monitoring and pose no threat to galactic peace or security. We should check on them perhaps once every 50 years to see if they have made any significant progress. The vote was unanimous. Humanity received the Class C designation, placing them in the same category as species that had not yet invented agriculture. The Council moved on to more pressing matters, like trade disputes between the Altarian Federation and the Centauri Republic. On the other side of the galaxy, Captain Jake Morrison was having the best day of his career. The exploration vessel, Frontier Spirit, had just completed a successful hyperspace jump to the Kepler 442 system. After 18 months of travel, they had finally reached their destination. Status report, Morrison called out as he walked onto the bridge. His crew had been working around the clock to prepare for this moment. All systems green, Captain, reported Navigation Officer Lucy Park. We are approximately 2 million kilometers from the target planet. Morrison looked out at the view screen, where a blue and green world slowly rotated in the distance. It looked almost exactly like Earth, with vast oceans and continental landmasses. White clouds swirled in the atmosphere, and he could even make out polar ice caps. "It's beautiful," whispered Science Officer Danny White, who was reviewing the sensor data. "Captain, this planet is remarkable. Oxygen-nitrogen atmosphere, gravity at 96% Earth normal, and the temperature range is perfect for human habitation. Any signs of intelligent life?" Morrison asked. "None detected, sir. There are plants and simple animals, but nothing that shows advanced development. No cities, no electromagnetic signals, no signs of technology." Morrison nodded, trying to contain his excitement. Finding a habitable world was rare enough, but finding one that was uninhabited was almost impossible. Most planets that could support life already had native species that had evolved over millions of years. "Begin detailed surface scans," he ordered. "I want to know everything about this world before we send down the landing teams." Dr. Rachel Green, the expedition's chief scientist, had been quiet during the initial surveys. Now she approached the captain with a concerned expression. "Captain, something is bothering me about this planet," she said quietly. "What do you mean?" "It's too perfect. The atmosphere composition, the temperature, the distribution of land masses and oceans. It's like someone designed this world specifically for human habitation." Morrison frowned. "Are you suggesting it's artificial?" "Not artificial exactly, but perhaps terraformed. There are subtle signs that someone has been making adjustments to the ecosystem. Nothing obvious, but the patterns are there if you know what to look for. Could it be natural evolution? Possible, but unlikely. The probability of a planet developing this way naturally is less than 1 in 10 billion. Morrison considered this information. Earth's government had sent 12 exploration missions to different star systems, all searching for potential colony worlds. The frontier spirit was the first to find something promising. If Dr. Green was right, and someone had already prepared this world, it raised important questions about who that someone might be. Continue the scans, he decided, but add deep geological surveys and look for any signs of artificial modification. If someone has been here before, I want to know about it. The next 3 days revealed more mysteries. The planet had rich deposits of rare metals in easily accessible locations. The soil composition was ideal for earth crops. The weather patterns were stable and predictable. Even the day-night cycle was almost exactly 24 hours. It's like someone read a handbook on perfect human colony worlds and built this place according to the specifications, Dr. Green reported during the daily briefing. Morrison made his decision. Prepare the landing parties. We're going down to investigate personally. The shuttle touched down in a broad valley near one of the planet's major rivers. The air was clean and fresh, with a slight floral scent from the native plants. Morrison and his team spent 6 hours exploring the area, taking samples and recording everything they found. No signs of current habitation, reported Security Chief Kevin Murphy. But there are some unusual rock formations that might be artificial. They found several circular clearings that were too regular to be natural. The soil in these areas had different mineral content than the surrounding ground. Dr. Green's equipment detected trace amounts of rare elements that did not occur naturally on most planets. Someone has definitely been here, she concluded. The question is when and why. They left. As the sun set on their first day on the planet's surface, Morrison stood on a hill overlooking the valley. The landscape stretched out before him, green and peaceful under the alien stars. It would make a perfect home for human colonists, but the mystery of its origins troubled him. "Captain," came Lucy Park's voice over the communication device. "We're receiving a priority message from Earth Command." Morrison activated his portable communicator. "Go ahead." "Sir, Earth Command has approved the establishment of a permanent colony on this world. They want us to begin immediate preparations for the arrival of the first settler ships." Morrison looked out at the beautiful landscape once more. Whatever secrets this world held, humanity was about to become part of its story. He had no idea that this decision would change the balance of power throughout the galaxy. "Acknowledge," he replied. "Begin transmitting our survey data to Earth. Tell them we found paradise." The message traveled through hyperspace toward Earth, carrying news of humanity's first major colony world. Neither Morrison nor his crew knew that their paradise had been carefully prepared by an alien civilization as their own backup homeworld. The Zephyrians had spent centuries making these modifications, never imagining that another species would discover their secret refuge. The stage was set for a confrontation that would surprise everyone involved, especially the Galactic Council. That had dismissed humanity as harmless just days before. Engineer Katie Miller had been working for 72 hours straight in an abandoned subway station beneath New York City. Her eyes were red from staring at computer screens, her hands were cramped from typing, and she had lived on nothing but coffee and determination. But she had done something that should have been impossible. She had cracked the Zephyrian computer network. "I've got it," she announced to the small team of programmers and technicians gathered around her makeshift laboratory. "I'm inside their system." The breakthrough had come when Katie realized that the aliens, despite their advanced technology, had made the same mistake that every advanced civilization made. They had become overconfident. Their security systems were designed to keep out other Zephyrians, not primitive humans who thought in completely different ways. "Their network is like a fortress," she explained to Dr. Maria Santos, who had arrived to see the demonstration. "It has massive walls, heavy gates, and sophisticated defenses. But it's designed to keep out armies, not mice. And right now, we're the mice." Katie's virus was small, simple, and completely invisible to Zephyrian security systems. It spread through their network like a whisper, copying itself into every system it touched. Within hours, she had access to navigation systems, weapons, controls, and communication networks across the entire alien fleet. "What can you do with it?" Maria asked. Katie smiled, and it was the same expression that had been spreading across the galaxy. "Watch this." She typed a series of commands, and suddenly every alien ship in orbit around Earth began playing human music. Classical symphonies, rock songs, jazz standards, and pop hits blared from Zephyrian speakers. The aliens found themselves listening to everything from Beethoven to Elvis, from Johnny Cash to Aretha Franklin. "It's psychological warfare," Katie explained as alien commanders frantically tried to shut off the music. "They came here to intimidate us with their technology. Now their own technology is showing them our culture. They're hearing our voices, our emotions, our humanity." But Katie's virus could do more than play music. It could access targeting systems, navigation controls, and life support functions. For the first time since the invasion began, humans had the ability to strike back at the alien fleet directly. Meanwhile, fighter pilot Danny Rodriguez was preparing for the most dangerous mission of his life. The human resistance had managed to capture several alien fighter craft, and Maria Santos had figured out how to modify them for human use. Now Danny was leading a squadron of captured alien ships in an assault on the Zephyrian command vessel. "Remember," he told his pilots as they prepared for launch, "we're not trying to destroy their ship. We're trying to get inside it. We need to reach their central computer core and upload Katie's virus directly into their main system." The mission was suicide by any reasonable measure. 12 human pilots in unfamiliar alien fighters attacking the most heavily defended ship in the galaxy. But Danny was grinning as he strapped himself into the cockpit. "You know what I love about this plan," he said over the radio. "It's so crazy that they'll never see it coming." His squadron launched from a hidden base in the Rocky Mountains, flying low to avoid detection. The alien fighters moved differently than human aircraft, but Danny and his pilots adapted quickly. Humans had always been good at learning new things under pressure. When they reached orbit, the real challenge began. The Zephyrian command ship was surrounded by defensive screens and patrol craft. Getting through would require flying better than any human had ever flown before. Ghost Squadron, this is lead, Danny called to his pilots. Remember what we talked about. Fly like humans, not like aliens. Be unpredictable. Be impossible. Be us. The attack began with a maneuver that no Zephyrian pilot would have attempted. Danny's squadron split up and attacked from 12 different directions simultaneously, using tactics that defied military logic. They flew through debris fields that should have been impassable, executed turns that should have been impossible, and survived attacks that should have been fatal. The alien defensive systems, programmed to counter logical military tactics, could not predict or counter the chaotic human approach. One by one, Danny's pilots slipped through the defenses and reached the command ship's hull. Remember, Danny said as they prepared to dock with the enemy vessel, we're not just fighting for Earth. We're fighting to show the galaxy that freedom is possible. Aboard the Zephyrian flagship, Commander Vexto was watching his carefully planned conquest fall apart. The humans have been resisting for 5 days now, far longer than any previous enemy. Worse, their resistance was inspiring revolts across the Empire. Sir, his communication officer reported, we're receiving reports of uprisings on 14 different worlds. Local populations are using human tactics and broadcasting human messages. How is this possible? These worlds have been pacified for decades. Sir, it appears that the human resistance broadcasts have reached every corner of the Empire. The message is spreading faster than we can contain it. The message was simple but powerful. Freedom was possible. Resistance could succeed. Tyrants could be defeated. It was a message that resonated with every oppressed species in the galaxy. On the mining world of Kepler 442b, the slave workers had stopped mining and started building weapons. On the factory planet of Proxima Centauri, the workers had taken control of the weapons factories and turned them against their oppressors. On dozens of worlds, the cry was the same. If humans can fight back, so can we. But the most dangerous development was happening right on Vexto's own ship. Subcommander Dexver, who had spoken with the human captain, was asking questions that made Vexto uncomfortable. Commander, Dexver said during a private meeting, I have been studying the human resistance. Their tactics are unconventional, but they are effective. Perhaps we should consider alternative approaches to this conflict. Alternative approaches? We are the Zephyrian Empire. We do not negotiate with primitives. Sir, with respect these primitives have held us off for 5 days and inspired revolts across 17 systems. Perhaps they are not as primitive as we believed. Vexto studied his subordinate carefully. Vexver was a good officer, but he was beginning to think like the humans. The infection of hope was spreading even among Zephyrian ranks. Subcommander, are you suggesting that we should surrender to these creatures? No, sir. I am suggesting that perhaps we should ask ourselves why we are fighting this war. What do we gain by conquering Earth? What do we lose by continuing this conflict? The question hung in the air like an accusation. For the first time in his career, Vexto found himself without a ready answer. On Earth, the human resistance was reaching a new level of coordination. Captain Lisa Brooks had managed to establish communication links with resistance cells across the planet, creating a global network of fighters who could coordinate their attacks in real time. Listen up, everyone, she broadcast from her space station. This is it. This is our moment. Intelligence reports that the alien fleet is experiencing internal problems. Some of their ships are reporting system failures. Some of their crews are questioning orders. They're starting to crack. She paused, looking down at the planet where millions of humans were fighting for their lives and their freedom. But we can't let up now. This is when we push harder. This is when we show them that humans don't just resist, we overcome. The final phase of Katie Miller's plan was about to begin. Her virus had spread throughout the alien fleet, giving humans access to every major system. Now it was time to use that access. Initiating Operation Homecoming, Katie announced from her underground laboratory. All units, prepare for system-wide shutdown of alien vessels. With a few keystrokes, Katie activated the final stage of her virus. Across the alien fleet, navigation systems began to malfunction. Weapon systems powered down. Life support fluctuated. Communication arrays went silent. The mighty Zephyrian fleet, which had conquered 17 worlds, found itself crippled by a handful of humans with laptops and determination. "Sir," the tactical officer reported to Vextol, "we're experiencing system failures across the entire fleet. The humans have somehow gained control of our networks." Vextol stared at the reports, flooding in from across his fleet. Ships were drifting out of formation. Weapons were offline. Communication was sporadic. The humans had done something that should have been impossible. They had turned the Zephyrian Empire's greatest strength, their advanced technology, into a weakness. "How?" he asked quietly. "Sir, it appears they have been studying our systems and developing countermeasures. They have turned our own network against us." For the first time since the invasion began, Vexto felt something he had never experienced in battle. Doubt. Not just doubt about victory, but doubt about the righteousness of the cause itself. The humans had not just resisted conquest. They had proven that the Empire could be beaten. And once that knowledge spread across the galaxy, the Zephyrian Empire would never be the same. The tide had turned. And it had turned because a species that should have been helpless had refused to accept that fate. They had smiled in the face of overwhelming odds, laughed at impossible challenges, and found a way to win through sheer determination and ingenuity. The galaxy was about to learn that when humans said, "Try me," they meant it